Well, thanks a lot for having accepted to attend this session so far. So I'm Jean-Marc Bourez, CEO of IT Health, which is the European Innovation Institute of Technology in Health. So in the realm of healthcare, maintaining rigorous standards and practices of quality management is paramount to ensuring patient safety, improving patient outcomes, obviously, and enhancing overall healthcare delivery, especially outcomes that matters to patients. A couple of weeks ago, maybe you're aware, the AI Act and the Open Health Data Space legislation package has been approved by the European Commission and the European Parliament. You can get access to the EIT Health Open Health Data Space think tank report in that matter, which is actually gathering robust insights on the way to implement the EHDS across member states. For the secondary use of data for research, innovation, and public health. Artificial intelligence has the potential to transform how healthcare is delivered and to make significant transformations how we approach quality management in healthcare. As of now, we need to understand the impact of AI on the healthcare landscape to pave the way whereby people from healthcare professionals, patients, policymakers will be adopting AI solutions at scale across Europe. EITL is also involved into the testing experimentation facilities in health, artificial intelligence and robotics, a European partnership. But there is also a need to redesign or to think about the way to develop related new models of financing in the area of data-driven technologies. So the key question is about the economic model linked to data and who is owning the data and what's the economic model so far. To elaborate a bit more on this passionating subject matter, I'm really pleased to welcome today our panelists. So Maciej, you are Director of Architecture at Iqvia, and by doing so responsible for defining and executing technology strategy related to health data transformation, analytics, and artificial intelligence-based products. Welcome. Thanks for having accepted. Anna, you're Head of Digital and Innovation at Novartis Poland. It was actually my position a couple of years ago when I was at Sanofi. So I know what does it mean from a large corporate pharmaceutical industry perspective. So thanks for attending. Marcin, you're working at Google. I mean, the attendees know you since you have already taken the floor before. So you're staff software engineer at Google Research. And last but not least, Dominik, founder and CEO of uPacjenta, one of the fastest growing longevity startup in Poland, focusing on preventive health checkups offered both to B2C and B2B clients so far. So thanks again for your time. Let's get started with two general questions, and please pick up the questions that you are comfortable with. So let's get started with actually questions which is basically due to the significant expectations placed on artificial intelligence by researchers, developers, and end users. Is the surrounding hype around AI is actually setting up expectations too high, in particular within the healthcare sector. So, maybe it's important to get your view on that matter.
Shall I go ahead?
Go ahead.
The hype definitely is there, and it's terrible. It's terrible. It would be far better if AI in healthcare was still a mysterious secret area that no one really knows and understands well. It would make our life so much easier. And I'm only half joking. I'll give you an example. We rolled out a system which we are very proud of. It's in England, and it helps to predict strokes among the patients with atrial fibrillation. It's brilliant stuff. We look at the electronic medical records of the patients and predicts, it looks at the patterns and predicts the stroke. And we rolled it out. We look at the data post-rollout, actual real-life data, and we measured that there was 22% drop of patients with strokes. I mean, these are, big words, but the AI really saved lives. I mean, it is true. it is happening. At the same time, we have this hype. It's a bit like if you attended the keynote yesterday from Esther Perel, and she was talking about artificial intimacy and how we have expectations from the apps that everything is constantly on, immediate, easy, fully for us, and we take this expectation to our partners and relationships. The same thing happens in AI. Right now, the expectation is it's a button you click, it's immediate, it's easy, it's always there for you. There are no challenges to implement it. You don't need to think about any resources, constraint, plan it. It's just something that's there, that's very easy, that's very fast. And that this expectation is something that can be harmful even to deploy, roll out, or bring to patients even brilliant solutions like the one I talked about. So I would say that the hype is real, and it's fantastic, and it's dangerous at the same time.
Thank you so much. Maybe another perspective? Anna?
I disagree and agree. So I think it's great that there is a hype. Certainly, the role that the new technology and an AI can play in healthcare is undeniable. So this is like probably one of the most broken kind of industries as we look in total. And there are a lot of challenges that need to be solved, and we won't solve them just kind of using human power, and we need new technology. I like the fact that the hype is there because it gets us talking about it. And I agree that expectations are super high, and not many people or the stakeholders within the ecosystem understand that it's a transformation. It's going to take time, it's going to take persistence, and it's going to take courage as well. But I like the fact that at least it makes us talk about it, it makes us comment about it in a kind of negative and positive way, because I think that the next thing that will come is acting and really using it. And we can already see examples, it's small pockets across kind of public institutions when they have already understood the power of new technology, how it can help them, and they are proactively trying to implement it despite many challenges. And I really hope that this will kind of go even bigger over the next few years.
Second general question to you both, Marcin and Dominik. So how does this impact the development and the implementation of AI-driven solutions in the healthcare? And what challenges does it pose for achieving realistic outcomes?
Right. Yeah, so I do want to say, AI is the real thing. I think this is a major breakthrough, and it's good to think that we have that people are paying attention. I agree here with Anna. I think there is, obviously, the fact that there is dialogue going on allows the society to kind of prepare for any transformation that may come. It helps, I know, startups raise money, honestly, to be able to actually work on these implementations and so on. However, it is, to your point, obviously, there is some dangers in setting the hype, the expectations so high. Clearly, and the technology is here on one hand, but it's not really available. I think this quote that future is here, is just not evenly distributed. I think this is more true in healthcare than in many other domains. Realistically, barriers still exist in applying this technology, and I kind of touched on them in my talk, but I think there's more. And many of them have nothing to do with AI, to be honest. It's more about the existing infrastructure in the hospitals, the readiness of the society, readiness of the doctors, availability of data and kind of preparedness of patients. So these things will take time. It's important to be reiterating that. At the same time, I think there's, we're already seeing some applications, especially from the previous wave. Maybe the generative AI is the hot new thing, is what actually brings this back into people's top of mind. But is the previous era AI, the deep learning of 2010s, that's starting to actually bear fruit. And I don't know if we have time to go into some examples, but we can totally touch on that at some point.
Thank you, Marcin. Dominik?
So basically, I will touch 2 different points. One is that the hype is inevitable because we are facing the very understaffed industry. So we don't have enough people to treat humans. We need to help from the AI. On the other hand, we already have a lot of data we should analyze, and we should analyze it faster. And here is also the AI that can help to find correlations between many parameters, like in diagnostics, for example. The challenges, though, are that, as I already heard from the previous panel here, we are collecting not enough data. And we just collect in Poland roughly, as stated before, around 30% of data is digitalized, is just harvested from our system. So having the obsolete systems is going to be just impossible to really use the power of AI. And this may be the biggest challenge, but also another one I see is the legal perspective. I have the telemedicine startup back in 2016. I think it was the second telemedical startup in Poland. It was super hard because, like, that time, it wasn't really, we didn't really know if we can, like, act and really use telemedicine. And COVID-19 came. It was possible. So it is possible to change legal fast, but we just see that we need to really have a very big problem to act faster on that.
Thank you, Dominik. Anna, we are convinced that AI is actually reshaping entirely the landscape for both doctors and patients, but what does this transformation means in practical terms, and what tangible benefits do these implementations offer to patients from your perspective?
So I think in the interest of time, I could really answer your question in 4 words. The kind of highest level benefit that it can offer is the improvement of the quality of patient care. And that's the kind of, when we look at it from from top. But I'm going to take some time and try to unpack it for you into 3 dimensions, how I see it. So the first one, and for me, by the way, as I see it kind of going into hospitals and kind of observing how they work, how they diagnose and treat patients, for me, the first benefit that it can offer is increased productivity, or let's reframe it, maybe released capacity of doctors. There are so many administrative tasks that doctors have to do, like repetitive tasks on everyday basis. And this is where I see a huge potential of new technologies, which are already widely available, to really kind of offload that and release capacity, especially as we look into the, as you mentioned, like the shortage of doctors, but also influx of patients. Yeah, when we look into cardiovascular diseases, oncology, depression, obesity, which is coming, like the system purely will not cope. The second one for me, it's critical, and here the new technology is probably the most advanced, is to support doctors in clinical decision making. And here we look at diagnostics. We know that in many diseases, diagnoses are too late. And again, this is like a big role of new technology that can accelerate it. And already when you look at imaging, obviously there's a lot of tools available that can support that. But also when we think about rare diseases or diseases which have unobvious symptoms, obviously sieving through the data with new technology and making correlations, again, a big opportunity. And the last one, which is probably the closest to my heart, is the patient. So educating the patients is another opportunity. So we all know that educating an engaged patient achieves better health outcomes, like this is the fact. And despite there are so many educational campaigns, both on the public and private side, I somehow feel that patients are still missing like practical tools that will deliver them really kind of tailor-made education information on demand. So at the point that they really need it. And here again, like if you look at the Gen AI, this is like the big opportunity. So for me, these 3 benefits, but overall they will kind of roll up to the better patient care.
Thanks, Anna. Maciej, so a report by McKinsey is actually estimating that AI and machine learning at all applications is potentially generating to 200 to 300 billion euro of turnover on a yearly basis by optimizing innovation, improving efficiency of research, clinical trials, and so on and so forth. How can AI technologies leverage large-scale healthcare data to improve quality management?
That's an excellent question. That's a lot of what we do. We see the clients who develop something small. Maybe they have a small research team. They develop something small, and they ask us, well, could you just, take this just one tiny step further, just roll it out. I mean, it's almost ready, it's almost there, just roll it out. And only then, when we start working and we go through all the steps it really takes, starting from fairly basic stuff, I would call AI hygiene, making sure that there's no data leakage in how they build the models, that there's no bias in how they train the data, that they thought about not only retrospective but also prospective validation, that they actually worked with the clinician to see how the solution will work in clinical workflow. Do we have the staff to use it? Do we have the staff who knows how to use it? And then we look at the overall context, how to scale it in terms, is the compliance there? Can we actually roll it out further? Is the one-time effort repeatable at all? Or we need to repeat the effort over and over again? And how we build multidisciplinary teams to do it. There's just so much things that need to happen that I think that's the realization that's also will be growing and it's needed, that AI is, well, one component, that's the element, that's not the whole story. There's really a lot around that, a lot of knowledge, expertise it takes, and perseverance, like you said, to actually make clinical impact.
Thanks a lot. Beyond quality management, Marcin, what's about fairness, transparency, equity, and thereby, let's say, trying to prevent bias from undermining patients' care quality and accessibility?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's really important, to be evaluating your work through the kind of bias lenses, like you said. And honestly, like the regulatory process is only catching up right now. If you look at the way medical device regulations work, like they were not really created for the era of cloud APIs serving, being updated frequently and having these AI models behind the scenes and so on. It's only recently with the AI Act that there is discussion of different risk classes in terms of the risk of bias and so on. It's definitely important to be paying attention to how to evaluate these, and a lot of the companies have been kind of self-regulating, adding additional levels of best practices, evaluating their models across different subgroups, and making sure that the biasing there are formal techniques for doing that these days. And this is, just the beginning. I could speak more, but I do want to leave some space for more.
Thank you so much. So the last question goes to you, Dominik. So when it comes to the previous sessions led by the CEO of Roche Poland, so he said that actually health care should have to be considered as an investment, not as a cost. We know that primary prevention is potentially a leading path to reduce the healthcare expenditures and the burden on the healthcare system sustainability. So long story short, so this preventive healthcare could play a significant role to make it happen accordingly. So what's your view regarding this new trend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that AI in general can be very effective in preventive healthcare. And just diving to already your question, because we don't have much time, I would say that in terms of decreasing the costs, it can be useful as having the possibility to see really that the condition is detected earlier. It helps us to sometimes even, if it's really earlier, because we can see some correlations from a different patient, as Anne said. Like, if we see that another patient has certain parameters and then certain conditions developed, if we can harvest that earlier and see from the previous in the conditions the other patient what is the parameters now, we can say maybe in 5 years they will develop certain conditions, and then we can act much better. Sometimes it's even changing their lifestyle. If not, we have better therapies on the earlier stages of conditions that are much more effective and cost much less. So I think it's just moving into the notion at the end of the really increasing not even people's lifespan but their health span, and help them to live fully till the end and just die fast, but being 70 years old and maybe in the New York Marathon.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we are quite close to the end. I would like to ask a last question, which has not been prepared so far. I mean, that's a surprise to you, let's say. So when it comes to the implementation of the European Health Data Space legislation package in Poland, do you sense that Poland is ready to make it happen? Last word.
So very quickly, we would love on the tech and process side support Polish system. We believe we have overall collectively, I think we have a lot of knowledge and the technology and the bits and pieces to make it happen. So I'll leave it at the optimistic note.
Good end.
So I think it's a good start. Now, locally in Poland, we need to unpack it into what it means from a practical point of view, and that will be key.
Excellent. Marcin?
Yeah, I think we're in a good place in terms of like technology acumen and many things are in place. I think there are still gaps in financing for startups, and there are still maybe the regulation still needs the risking in a sense like let's see how the AI Act ends up being implemented. For example, can it be really aligned with the pre-existing medical device requirements so that like I can satisfy both of them in the same tech file, for example. But like if these things are happen, like I'm positive that we can make that happen here in Poland.
Excellent. Dominik?
I will be much more skeptical. Even like for me, the usage of data is not really clear for now, so I don't know. I hope for the best.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for your time. We can obviously recognize our panelists, and thanks for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.